All right, well, this is normally where we would get to our third part, the part where we decide which one we like better. But in this particular case, there is a third challenger that we wanted to discuss. Over some of the recent episodes, we've been mentioning more and more about non-English, non-Japanese Pokemon music. And in an effort to cover more of that, it turns out that there is another ending theme for the Singapore version of this movie. Now, I believe that version still uses English. English is a pretty major language in the very geographically small country of Singapore. But if you have that edition of the movie, you have access to a song by an artist called Beverly. It's called Future. And Beverly's a relatively new artist, isn't she? So you weren't able to find a ton, but what could you dig up there?
Well, what I could dig up was her last name is Beverly-for, and she's done some work with Japanese releases in Japanese media as well, and the Philippines. So she's kind of expanded beyond just, appearing on Singapore Idol as she did. So though she's relatively new, it does seem like she's kind of starting to build a bit of an international presence and gotten some opportunities to be associated with people like Oguri Shun over in Japan, who is kind of an actor idol, I guess you would say, who's, introduced her to some of the media presence in Japan, which is probably kind of helped her getting tied into this movie eventually. So I didn't learn a lot about her, but it sounds like whether she was, I don't know if Morata is a natively Singaporean name. It sounds very Japanese to me. So she may have ties to a couple different countries within this world that have maybe helped her create business relations and kind of take advantage of some of these opportunities like a Pokemon movie.
Yeah, perhaps some of that is, again, attributable to Singapore's relatively small size, although it is very densely populated.
Yeah, and there is cross media collaborations through Asia. The composer was Carlos K, but the arrangement was Haruyo Yoda. So clearly, people can work in other countries than the one they were born in. But it did take me a little bit by surprise looking her up that she just seems to have a resume that is very worldly.
Any idea if this song was specifically written for this movie, or maybe just selected or tweaked or whatever?
I could not find information on that, but like the other two, it fits very well. So I would like to think, especially with this movie being such the big deal it was to kind of make an anniversary moment, that it probably was written for the movie. That would be my gut instinct guess.
Well, let's talk about this song itself then. To be honest, it's got a very pop vibe. Unfortunately, I don't know that I have a ton to say about it. I did listen to it 2 or 3 times, but it has some similar themes to the other one. Anne, why don't you describe your impressions of it?
Well, my first thought was that this was the long-lost song off the first movie soundtrack in English. It just has such a vibe about it that feels 90s. It feels like a throwback in its sound, in its messages, and in its musicality. So I was digging it when I heard it. It was very energetic and felt like it belonged in my Pokemon mind.
I don't totally disagree with your assessment there. The lyrics are all in English, so I was able to understand it, although it doesn't quite sound like it was totally written by a native English speaker. Not to be too hard on it, because it's the English here is much better than my skills in any foreign language. So
yeah, I think it's definitely got some word choices that would not be made by, say, an American or a British person, but is still grammatically correct, but is just that different enough that it feels odd to us, I think. But yeah. That happens.
It does.
I don't know what to say about it.
And I kind of agree, although I was getting a little bit, it's kind of a mixture stylistically to me. There's a little bit of Together We Make a Promise from movie 9 in there, but definitely also sort of that retro late 90s, early 2000s pop era in there as well. I mean, the singer is incredibly enthusiastic. I will absolutely give her that.
Oh, yeah. I would be happy if she came back for another Pokemon song in the future, a la Asuka or Haven.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if that ever happens again. What about the lyrics? I mentioned they had similar themes to the other songs. What's kind of struck you there?
I really there's a section that talks about kind of Pokemon battles, really. Like, life can be a battle and we will never understand it, but soon it will be clearer. Like, I kind of there is that theme of journey in it, but I like that it's kind of looking at a bit of a different aspect of Pokemon. So there is that. And then there was some other lyrics that I liked. Let me try to find them. When you brought up Together We Make a Promise, I very much felt a similarity there too, because there's a lot of stuff like, together we'll chase them all, together we'll change the future. So yeah, it's calling out a lot of themes that we've heard over and over and over again. The values that Pokemon has always reinforced, they're all present in this song.
Definitely. So, kind of a nice little thing there. Now, if you're trying to listen to this, it is posted. It seems officially on YouTube, so you can dig it up there. Unfortunately, like Spotify and iTunes releases appear to be country locked to Singapore, but there are definitely some ways you can hear it. And I strongly suggest, whatever your opinion of it ends up being, that you check it out.
Yeah, Avix track can sometimes be a little funky about that when they release internationally, but they do have Avix does have the label. They have a YouTube channel, and you can hear this song there. It's their official channel.
And the description has a little more info. It's basically like a press release text there, but about Beverly. So definitely check that one out. All right. Well, now I guess we can really get to part 3, where we sort of decide which one we like better.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Yeah, this, not just having 3 there. There are some good efforts here. However, perhaps I am at a bit of a disadvantage not knowing much Japanese, but, I like Let's Walk Together. And it definitely adds some stuff that wasn't there in the original in terms of it doesn't feel like redundant or anything like that. It feels like it gives something a little bit new, at least in terms of instrumentation and sound. And I am very glad to have Asuka Hayashi back. I hope that we can get her involved in something else and maybe not movie 30. Beyond that, I really, something really gets me about I Choose You. That one, it makes me tear up, as only really a few Pokemon songs can, including We're a Miracle. I would say I Choose You is the best one English ending theme song we've had since at least Make-A-Wish. I do not think it tops The Power of One, but I think it is in a tussle with Make-A-Wish and We're a Miracle. Although I would say, as an Ash Pikachu song, I like We're a Miracle more, but maybe that's just sort of nostalgia talking, but this one doesn't feel like it's, competing directly with it, even though it does have similar themes. It does enough on its own to sort of set itself apart from it, I think. As far as the Beverly song, I'm not sure where I would place that. I think it kind of reminds me of, to be honest, It Was You, which I think was sort of the backup ending theme song to Pokemon, the first movie, in that We're a Miracle just nails the film really well there, but It Was You was sort of like the backup and feels like not as interesting a version, or interesting a sort of dissertation. I know it's a huge word to use for that, but you get the idea there.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where that fills in for me. So for me, it's definitely I Choose You is the winner in the three-way horse race there. And I think you have a somewhat different opinion. That's okay.
Oh my gosh, I can't decide. It's so hard because I'm looking at all 3 songs in front of me and trying to remember the melodies and looking at the lyrics, which is usually my end. And I think in that case, I'll maybe push Future out of the running. It's now down to Oracion and I Choose You. But every time I look at the lyrics, it's like I get to Oracion, Let's Walk Together, and that line about Ishoni watching the rainbow. It's good to watch the rainbow together, and thinking of Ho-Oh, I'm just dead. And then I look at I Choose You, and that second verse opening, like, hello, stranger, don't I know you? Nice to see you, my friend. Dead. Like, it's so hard. I don't know. I might call a pass and just say it's a tie.
Well, we've done that before, and that is, I guess you could say, within the rules.
Okay.
I have to admit, these are three, in terms of their like lyrical themes, very similar songs.
Yeah.
And Let's Walk Together and I Choose You are not completely dissimilar stylistically. I think Future does stand out more in that regard. But they're all kind of approaching similar topics from somewhat different angles, which I think is an interesting perspective. I think we really did. One of the goals of this series is to sort of point out that even if you prefer one of the songs to another one, you can still gain something by looking at the other ones, or listening to the other ones, I should say.
Definitely. And for this movie, we lucked out. Like, I'm just so happy. These are all good songs. I'm sure if there are any other musical dub adaptations out there that we're not aware of, China or something, I'm sure they're all just as well. Like, you can see care poured into all of them.
No, there was definitely some passion that went into this on the singers' end and stuff like that. They were really wanted this to really work, and they wanted to show their best here. And I think we got a good performance out of each of these performers, really. But like I said, I Choose You is still the one that resonates best with me. But it's okay that you have a tie there. This is, I can admit, a difficult choice for, I would expect, at least a decent number of people out there to which of these songs.
Right. I will hold these two favorite children close to my heart and protect them both.
All right. Well, there's plenty of other musical stuff to talk about. One of the things we need to talk about is the intro song. Now, of course, on the Japanese side, that's going to be a new version of Aim to be a Pokemon Master. And the English side, of course, we have the Pokemon theme, the original dub one, redone with a new vocalist and whatnot. How do you think the Japanese one worked out? If I remember correctly, it wasn't released on the Score album. It was actually released late last year as a single, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. It's interesting, like, I've heard so many adaptations of Misase Pokemon Master that, like, it's hard to be like, oh, this one is definitely superior. But this one did a lot of interesting things. I really loved the distortion that went on in kind of towards the middle of the song, that effect. And there's just something about Rika as she gets older. Like, I sometimes worry she's killing her voice, because I think, like, as pure singing goes, she sang better when she was younger, a good decade or two ago. But with every year, she just gets more passionate in her acting choices when she sings. So, like, when she, like, digs deep into Satoshi's guttural sounds, like, Zettai ni yaru, that sort of thing, like, she just gets better and better when she sings this song in that sense. So Misase Pokemon Master will always just be an interesting venture whenever they do a new mixing of it.
I suppose so. To be honest, I don't think I was as impressed as you sound there. I think I would have preferred a somewhat more focused instrumentation to that version of the song. I think kind of not really meandered, but it just changed a little too much. There obviously need to be some dynamics, especially with a reimagining or another rearrangement of that, but I think I would have preferred a more consistent vision of it, unless there was some motif I missed in there or something that they were going for.
Well, it did feel a little like there was a bit of a kind of a more modern funk kind of thing going on to it at the beginning. So there's that. I would agree with you. It goes a lot of places musically, this song. I've not been bothered by it, I think, in the same way you are, just because Misase Pokemon Master from the beginning has always been kind of a weird little song. So I kind of expected that on some level, but you're not wrong. Yeah, it definitely tries a lot of vast and disparate different things in its musical pursuit.
If you had to rank the official versions of that song, where does this sort of fit in? There's obviously the first movie alternate version, and then there's the fourth and fifth movies, and one or two other things. There's Pokemon Pinball.
Yeah, as I said, it's very hard for me to pick a favorite or superior Mizase Pokemon Master just because there's been so many and they all do different things. Coming off the emotional high that I am on since I did rewatch this movie kind of recently, I would go with this one as the best just because of Rika's vocals. Otherwise, I think the original instrumentation is a little bit more cohesive in the way you're saying and is a little bit more pleasing to me. But at the same time, I do really love that distortion effect. So I don't know.
I think my pick would probably be either the original or the one from the first movie or the one from the fifth movie, which is also one of my favorites with the accordion accompaniment. That's a great version of that song.
Yeah, no, that's a good one too. There's too many.
Well, on the English side, we have, Pokemon theme,
problem.
Yet another version of it. I'm not sure that I want to go into the idea of where this totally ranks in the entire pantheon of official versions of this song. I think that's something we might want to put for a later discussion topic. But as far as this one, it's reasonably close to the original anime version. To be honest, I kind of prefer, of the more recent official versions of the Pokemon theme, I kind of prefer the one that they use in that sort of thing promoting all the different Pokemon movies. It skips the Miramax-owned ones. Maybe they'll do a re-edit later. But I think of the more modern versions, that might be one of my favorites. What do you think about the version used here?
It's kind of that same thing. It's like there have been so many, it's almost hard to compare. But there are things I like about this version, like there's something about it. It's a female vocal doing the harmonies, and I don't know that that's always been the case, but I very much noticed the harmonies this time, and that was in the theater when you're kind of having the roller coaster ride. That was really nice to feel the harmony kind of tearing at your soul in the way that harmonies are meant to. So that was nice. It's kind of a weird thing. I would have liked them to maybe have not stuck quite so close to the original theme and to just go off on a different path. Maybe we would have had the same problem that Mizase Pokemon Master has of doing too many different things and turning some people off. But I would have, as with all adaptations, it's go big or go home. So
I suppose, would you rather they have done something closer to the Billy Crawford first movie version or perhaps Born to be a Winner?
Born to be a Winner was an amazing example just because, it was completely different. I would have liked to see, just something off base, do a straight up ballad. Maybe it's a piano cover. Maybe it's an accordion. I don't know. It felt so similar in all the good ways, but after, that first note hits on the electric guitar, you don't want it to be the same you've always heard. So like I said, I really applaud the harmonies that they were able to kind of stick out a little bit and kind of make it different and exciting for me. But if I had my ultimate wish for this song, it would have been for them to just go even more different and try to find something new within that song. That's my opinion. It's not necessarily law that they have to do what I want all the time.
No, I think I've definitely thought that there is too diverse of a range of desires for them to come up with anything that would be quote unquote perfect for this movie music wise. So
exactly, and the fact that they were able to kind of hit both sides, they kind of got that original Pokemon feel that got all the people who have not been with Pokemon for forever and kind of rekindled that the way they felt when they were young. That's really special. But then for me, who has heard this song and renditions of it for 20 years, to be able to mix it and arrange it and record it in a way that something new stuck out to me, that is also special. So well done.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. It may not be my favorite version or the version I would have picked for this movie, but I do like this version.
Mm-mm.
Keep listening for more from this interview.